And for more on the Chargers, let's welcome in CBS Sports senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones, who is at Chargers camp for us. JJ, this season, or last season, pardon me, they were the dark horse trendy pick, and they just missed the postseason. So how have things changed for 2022?
You're right. They were the trendy pick last season. I think I was standing out here on this field about this time last year, and I was telling you all that they were going to split with the Kansas City Chiefs and that they were going to make the playoffs. And they were just an overtime tie away from doing exactly what I told you here on CBS Sports HQ a year ago. So the point here is always listen to me when I'm at Chargers camp. I am telling you right now that the Los Angeles Chargers, there was a lot of talk last year about Brandon Staley and his fourth down aggressiveness, right? This is a team that I don't know that we're going to see that same aggression this year, but it is not going to be because, Brandon Staley must have learned his lesson. It's okay to punt sometimes. It's not that he said, hey, my philosophy was off. I think what you're going to see from these Chargers is a much improved defense, a defense that as long as they can stay healthy, which they struggled with in the defensive backfield and the defensive line late in the season, this is a team that's going to finally be able to stop the run. You look at the pieces that they picked up. They got Sebastian Joseph Day. They have Austin Johnson. They have Khalil Mack, who is known as a pass rusher but can also stop the run incredibly well. They got Kyle Van Noy as well, and so they're going to be able to stop other teams. Your defense factors into what your offense does on third and fourth downs. They also have a new punter in J.K. Scott. He is going to be a weapon, folks here tell me, and so now you have a punter that you really trust who can really flip the field on you. Of course, your special teams game plays a factor in your fourth down aggression on offense, and then, of course, you have Justin Herbert. You have this offense another year in the system. Guys know exactly what they're supposed to be doing out there. So I think all in all, you're going to hear a lot about is this team going to go for it on fourth down as much as they did last year. I don't think that the philosophy really changes with this team. When they have to go for it on fourth, they're going to trust Justin Herbert. But maybe on those fourth and longs that Brandon Staley was going for it last year, they may not do it this year because of what the team is and not of a philosophical change.
Well, and you mentioned we're going to hear much about that during the season, but during this offseason, we haven't really heard much. I mean, the Chiefs, we heard a lot about them losing Tyreek. We heard a lot about the Raiders getting Devontae Adams. We heard a lot about the Broncos adding Russell Wilson. Chargers not really talked about for what they've done. Is there a chip on this team's shoulder as they enter the coming season, JJ?
I don't know that there's a chip. I'll tell you this. We caught them today. It's always difficult, Jeremy, when you parachute in for a day that you don't want to make some broad sweeping generalization about the team. I was here on one practice day, and I'm going to tell you exactly how they've been practicing. This kind of felt like a little bit of a lighter day. They were the second day in pads. There were no fans out here that they could feed off of. But really the last 4 days, I'm told, there's been really high intensity out here with these Chargers. I know this. LA feels that they have competition from the top of the roster to the bottom of it. And so I think that's going to play a huge factor in how they keep getting better in this training camp. Brandon Staley and his staff, they've put a huge emphasis dating back to when he got here on sports performance. And so you saw guys out here with all the foam rollers after practice. There's a real commitment here to making sure that these guys are going to be healthy. And then you talk about all the moves that were made across the AFC West. Listen, this offense is fantastic, and they feel very, very good about their left tackle, who was a recent draft pick, Rashawn Slater. They feel pretty good about their right tackle position as well. Trey Pipkins is a guy who, he struggled early on last season. He got benched, but then he came back and played really well late in the year. So I think a lot of folks are looking at that right tackle position, Jeremy, and they're saying, hey, that's a weak spot. Well, yeah, it's a weak spot when you have 10 really strong spots. Their wide receiver group, their skill positions. Donald Parham was out here making some grabs. And so I really, really like this offense. But the issue they had last year was their defense. And we just addressed how they decided to improve along that defense. They finally have Khalil Mack opposite Joey Bosa. They have a veteran in Kyle Van Noy. They got J.C. Jackson in free agency, a guy who really has gotten his hands on the ball more than any other defensive back in the last 3 years in the NFL. So when you put all of that together, Denver got the shiny new toy in Russell Wilson. The Chiefs are the Chiefs, and the Raiders, they're making their moves as well. I'm telling you, I really, really believe in this Chargers team this year as a playoff contender.
Let's talk about that defense. Derwin James staging a not often seen hold in with the team as he seeks a new contract. What's the latest on the James situation?
I'm told that the Los Angeles Chargers and Derwin James are very close on a contract extension. Folks that I speak with, depending on what side they're on, some are just like, yeah, it's a matter of time. It may be minutes, it may be days for Derwin James and these Chargers to ultimately reach a contract extension that is very likely going to make Derwin James the highest paid safety in NFL history. Now, what is that contract going to be? Is it going to surpass Minkah Fitzpatrick in terms of average annual value? Is there going to be the highest cash flow through the first 2 or 3 years of that deal? All of that is to be determined, and frankly, that's probably the stuff that's being ironed out, as well as the Chargers probably looking for some injury protection because of an all-pro safety that Derwin James is. He's unfortunately had to deal with injuries before, but listen, talking with folks in this organization, they can't speak more highly of Derwin James, the man on the football field and the man away from the football field. So they're going to get it done. He is a key piece of what Brandon Staley is doing with this defense. Everybody knows he's going to be out there on the field in week 1. And when he returns to practice, after he gets his contract extension as the highest paid safety in NFL history, I would love to be out here on the field just to see the energy and intensity that he's going to bring to the team once they finally get that dog back.
James's teammate Joey Bosa agrees with what James is doing. As a leader on this defense, I mean, that's a big thing for him. It sends a message to the players and to the team as a whole. Bosa entering his 7th season, double-digit sacks last year. What is that pairing going to look like with him and Khalil Mack?
Man, Jeremy, it's going to be ferocious. And Khalil Mack kind of has a new lease on life. He was not really loving things up in Chicago. And listen, when you're not winning, things are bad. And so now he comes to an organization where he has an animal on the opposite side rushing the passer with him in Joey Bosa, a guy who you mentioned double-digit sacks. He's been in the league for 6 seasons. This is now going to be his 7th year. And in 4 of those 6 seasons, he's had double-digit sacks. He's just incredible, and he's only getting better. You're out here at practice, and they had one-on-ones today. So the DBs are going up against the wide receivers. You had the running backs going up against the linebackers, and then you had offensive line versus defensive line. And so that's where Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa were. But after they got done with those one-on-ones, there was a special teams period. And if you looked over there, all they were doing the entire time was working on pass rush moves, giving each other tips. You know, they would do a move, and they'd talk for a second and break it down. And that's in their downtime. That's when they're cooling off. They're still getting that work done. Something else that was told to me, Joey Bosa, for the longest time, not only has he not had a Khalil Mack opposite him, yes, he had Melvin Ingram, but he came up with Melvin Ingram. Now he has a lot of veterans around him, certainly on that front line and in that front 7. When you talk about Sebastian Joseph Day, who has that Super Bowl DNA, when you talk about Kyle Van Noy, who has that championship DNA in him. So this is a group of veterans, not just elite pass rushers and very good pass rushers on this Chargers team, but veterans who know what it takes to get the job done, finally get them over the hump like we're all expecting.
He is senior NFL insider Jonathan Jones at Chargers camp for us today. Great to see you, JJ. Great stuff as always. Enjoy the continuing training camp tour as we take a look at the Chargers defense from last year. Yeah, they needed to make some upgrades on this defense. You look at those rankings in the bottom third of the league. Adding J.C. Jackson going to help Khalil Mack with the pass rush. Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, all people that have been at it. Kyle Van Noy as well. You look at the additions to that defense. Jackson certainly one of the big ones. 25 interceptions in his first 4 seasons. This Chargers defense going nowhere but up as they enter 2022.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.